Hello everyone, I'm just going to give you guys a few minutes to all join me. I hope everybody's doing good this weekend. Actually, it's only Friday, isn't it? Feels like it should be Saturday, but I hope everybody's having a good Friday so far. I'm just going to let everybody have the chance to join in. Hi Sandra, hi Chloe. Just have a sip of my water because I know I'm going to be talking lots. Hi Crystal, hi everyone. Thanks so much for joining. Hello. So for those of you that are here already, thank you so much for joining me. We've got Christina, Christical, Kronk. She is going to be answering questions today in the live to help me out. I've also got a screen in front of me here. I'm just going to try and set it up so that I can make sure I can stay in frame for you guys. So today, let me just try and focus on this if I can. We are going to be learning how to do a 3D knitted bow. So this may not be practical for some of your clients. I know not everybody likes 3D. I happen to love 3D. So we are going to be creating this cute little knitted bow. And I'm just going to get my screen set up here. Make sure there's no sound on. There we go. So I can stay in frame for you guys. Hi everyone, thanks so much for joining me today. And as I mentioned, for those of you who are just joining, Christical is in the comment section under the Ugly Duckling Facebook page, and she will be helping answer any questions you guys may have. Those of you just joining, we're going to be learning how to do this 3D knit bow using our Ugly Duckling 3D gel. And I'm going to show you how to create custom colors and a little trick I've learned along the way when mixing your own colors with the 3D gel. All right. So first things first, we're going to create the background that we're going to use to place our bow on. And I've started a nail here just so I can focus more of my time with you on learning how to create the bow, because the bow does take a little bit of time. So what we're going to do first is we're going to create the background, and all I've done here is I've created a really simple kind of pine tree inspired background with some little red berries. Very festive, but not too technical at all, which is really nice, especially when you're working in the salon. It's nice to have things that you can do quickly for your clients. So what I've done here ahead of time is I've pre-mixed color number, where is it here? 163 gel polish. And I've mixed it with number 44 white to create this kind of soft green color. So I'll mix a little bit more just so you can see on camera. This color is beautiful. This is like a true kind of olive green shade. And basically to get that soft shade, I've just mixed 1 and 1. So number 163 and 1 part number 44, which is our pure white. Of course, I'm mixing on our lovely Ugly Duckling crystal palette here. Now I'm going to take the spatula end of my, oh my goodness, my duck paddle. This is one of my favorite tools. I shouldn't have forgotten that. I'm going to take my duck paddle and we're just going to mix. And I'm not going to go too fast, because sometimes when you mix too fast, you can actually work air bubbles into your product. And it can be a little bit troublesome sometimes when you are trying to hand paint and you've got bubbles in your design. You can usually work them out on the nail, but sometimes it's hard, especially if you're doing intricate work and you don't want to accidentally mess up your design. So just mix it nice and slow, not too vigorously. And you're going to get that nice, soft pastel olive shade. Okay, let me just grab a wipe. Just wipe off the excess off my tool here. Next, I'm going to grab my favorite brush of all time. It's our Detailer 2 brush. And what we're going to do is, we really are not going to pay attention to detail. This is so simple. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Detailer 2 brush, and I'm just going to pick up a little bit, and I'm going to move it over here. And to load your brush properly, all I do is kind of roll it a little bit back and forth in the product, and that way it coats my brush nice and even. I'm starting to get a little bubble there, so that all I'm going to do is just roll some off, and that way your brush is coated nice and evenly. Sorry. Okay, so now we're going to work on the nail. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my nail here, and you can kind of see I've been working from side to side. That's just more so for balance and making sure everything is even, because if I started everything on one side, it would look very lopsided and very heavy on one side. So working from side to side, I find personally is best. So to start, our little pine tree here, our pine tree branch, I'm just going to go in and I'm going to start at the very tip of the branch. Just pull down. It doesn't have to be a straight line. You can see mine is kind of curvy. Not curvy, but it has some kind of bends in it. Next, I'm going to go back, starting at the very top. All I'm doing is I'm going to pull from the outside in towards the branch. So starting at the top, I'm going to leave a little bit of a gap near the very tip. Start my first pine needle, and all I'm doing is using the existing product on the brush and pulling towards that branch just by creating little lines and little strokes. It's not very detailed at all. Okay. Now I'm going to repeat the same step on the other side. Just pull down towards that branch. Now I've kind of erased that center line that we created by doing this, but that's okay. I'm just going to load a little bit more on my brush. I'm going to start at the very tip again, put my brush down, and I'm just going to redraw a little branch in there. It doesn't have to be precise. It's just so that it kind of looks like all the pine needles are meeting at one place rather than overlapping each other. I'm going to add one more little branch down here. Okay, so starting at the top, just pulling inwards, and I'm kind of flicking my brush as I go, and I'm not reloading unless it gets really, really dry and nothing is showing up. Just keep pulling down. That side got a little dry, so I'm just going to put a very, very little amount on the very tip of my brush and go in sporadic places and just add a little bit more. Again, go back just to kind of establish that center line. This area looks a little bit open, so I'm just going to add a tiny little branch there. Again, start with our branch. I'm going to pull it so it kind of meets that big branch. This one's a little guy, so we're just going to do little strokes coming to that center line. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cure this in our Ugly Duckling lamp. I'm going to flash cure just because this is such a thin layer. And we are going to do a final cure at the end anyways when we top coat and everything. So I'm not too worried about that right now. I just want to flash cure it in place so I can move on to my next step. So my next step will be using our red Ugly Duckling art gel. For those of you who haven't had a chance to use our art gels yet, they're amazing. And I'm not just saying that because I love Ugly Duckling, I'm saying it because it's true. These art gels are so pigmented, a little goes such a long way. I'm going to use the dotting end of my blinger tool. Pop that back on my crystal tip display. And now what we're going to do is we're going to create those tiny little berries. So I'm just applying a very, very little amount of art gel to my dotting tool. And we're gonna go in and we're just gonna sporadically add those little berries. A little here, maybe 3 there, maybe 1 or 2 up at the very end. I love designs like this that are not overly technical and specific. Like I said, these kind of designs are really good for salon work. This can be done quickly, but it looks like it's taken a long time. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna cure those red little berries now. Again, we're gonna flash cure those probably for a few more seconds just because it is the art gel, and the art gel is very, very pigmented. It's very pigment rich, so we wanna make sure that it has enough time in the light before we apply any top coat, because I have made that mistake before on some stuff that I've been doing where I've thought I've cured it long enough or flash cured it long enough, and I have pulled some of the color away. So just be aware of that when you are working with the art gel. You want to make sure you do give it enough time to cure. Okay, so now that we've got the background ready for our nail, for our bow, I should say, we are going to start working on the bow. So the bow, this little thing is near and dear to my heart. I did see the original idea for the knitted nail. I did see a Russian artist create it, and she created like a sweater kind of look on a nail. Let me just show you here. I did this one a while ago. This is mixed, our art gel mixed, or sorry, our 3D gel mixed with color number 166, that really, really pretty mustard yellow. So she created it flat on a nail like this, and I thought, how cute would that be in a bow, especially for Christmas season? So I've done another one here as well, a little bit smaller, just to show you guys the difference. Of course, this bow is quite large. I would wear this bow on my nails, no problem, but I know some people may not be that brave. So you can make smaller versions. It just depends on the thickness of your braids, I guess. So I'm going to stick with a larger one today just because it will be easier to see on camera, I think. So now we're going to get ready to mix our art gel, or sorry, our gel polish with my 3D gel. So the things you're going to need for this step are going to be our 3D white gel. Let me just take the lid off of that. So our 3D white gel. And then I also am going to have next to me our acrylic powder in clear. Take the lid off that as well. Get that nice and ready. I'm going to be using my trusty duck paddle, and this time I'm going to be using the spatula end, or sorry, the scoop end as well as the spatula end. And I'm going to be using color number 115, so 115. So first things first, we are going to pre-mix our bow color. And all I'm doing, I did use number 115 for the background of this nail. I forgot to mention that to you, my apologies. So this background color is number 115, and I'm going to be mixing it with the white art gel. Oh my goodness, the white 3D gel to create the color for the bow. So it will be slightly lighter. You can, of course, keep adding the gel polish to the 3D gel to create a darker shade, but I will show you when you start adding gel polish to the art gel does become a little bit sticky. So I have a trick to combat that. Just gonna scoop some out here. We're gonna place this on our palette. I like to flatten it down a little bit here. I'm gonna take my gel polish, number 115, just put it right in the middle there. Now, to get the correct consistency, you're going to need to play with it a little bit, and it's all dependent on how much of gel polish you're adding. Art gel, like I said, our gel polishes are very pigmented also, but the art gel is a little bit different. So with the art gel, a little bit goes a long way. Sometimes for more color payoff with the 3D gel and gel polish, you need to add a little bit more gel polish, and that's okay. But sometimes as we're working it, it creates, it makes the 3D gel a little bit more sticky and a little bit more soft. So for a design like this, where we're creating a rigid bow, we want the 3D gel to be a little bit more stiff and a little bit more dry. So I'm just using my duck paddle here. I'm going to start working this color in first because I want to see how it's reacting with the 3D gel to say like how sticky or how soft it becomes. Before I start adding anything else, I just want to mix that color in there. And if the 3D gel does become too soft, it's a super easy fix, and I'm going to show you guys that in just a minute here. So just fold it in. All I'm doing is kind of scooping up the product and pushing it down, folding it over. It's kind of like you're kneading dough. Fold it over, fold it over. Just keep working that in until the color is nice and consistent. You guys can kind of see it's really kind of marbleized, which is also really pretty if that's what you want to go for. But I want a nice solid color today. So I'm just going to keep folding that over. And I'm sure you guys can notice, just from me working that color in, the gel is becoming a lot more soft than when it first comes out of the jar. So just mix that in there. All right, so we've got it pretty well mixed. So now I'm going to take my clear acrylic powder, and I'm actually going to sprinkle some on here, probably a few scoops. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to start with 4, and we're going to start working that in as well. Just do it slowly and gently at first so the powder doesn't go everywhere. And start kneading that in. And what that's going to do is that's going to help stiffen the product back up, so we're able to manipulate it a little bit easier. Because I have found while working with the 3D gel to create the knitted look, the little braids and such, is that it does need to be on the stiffer side. So I'm just really working that in there, getting any of the excess powder on the palette. It is starting to become a little bit more stiff, but I think I might want it just a little bit more. And this is what I mean, you guys. You're going to have to play with this consistency a little bit yourself and just play around with it to see what works best for you, especially once we start creating the twists to create the knitted design. You're going to get a feel for it, and you're going to be able to tell if it's a little bit too soft still. I can tell just working with this and feeling it under my spatula, it's a little bit too soft. So we're going to go back. We're just going to add some more of that clear acrylic powder. 3 scoops this time, not as many as last. And just really work that in there. So just fold it over, just like we're kneading dough. It's going to start getting dry. It's going to look, it looks really dry right now, but trust me, once we get incorporated all together, it's going to be perfect. Just rotating, working that in there. So once you color 3D gel as well, you can store it if you have little containers, like little white containers like this, or something that the light can't penetrate through. You can store it. I have found that colors I've kept that, oops, got a little bit here, that I've added acrylic powder to, sometimes they will become a little bit too hard over time to use. But what you could do is you could pre-mix a color, and then you could put it in a container, and you could take some out and add some acrylic to it once you've taken some out of the container. And that way you're not adding clear acrylic to the whole colored container, if that makes sense. All right, I think we're getting a pretty good consistency here. And I think we've got all that colored acrylic, or sorry, the clear acrylic mixed in. All right, so another thing we are going to need when working with 3D gel and creating something that you're adding to the nail. So if you're working off of the nail, I always suggest using water. And I believe if you're working on the nail, the best thing to use would be gel cleanse. So I've got my dappen dish here full of water. Take that lid off. Let me just put a lid on my acrylic because I am a klutz and I'm sure I will spill something before the end of this live. Okay, so now we are ready to start creating our little braids to create our bow. What I've done here is I have wet a piece of paper towel that's quite damp, and I put it just on a plastic lid, nothing too fancy. But this is where we're going to store our little twists and braids before we're ready to use them. In my trials and tribulations of working with 3D gel and creating this little bow, I have found that having somewhere that you can lay them to rest while you're working on the other parts is much easier than trying to have to scramble and keep everything kind of from sticking to other things. Because the gel, once it's sitting on something, it may stick to the surface, but I find that it doesn't stick to the wet paper towel. So that's handy to have on hand. So I'm just gonna put this to the side. The water we are going to wet our glove with, and any of the fingertips that we're going to be using to manipulate the gel. And this will keep the 3D gel from sticking to our gloves and sticking to the hand where we are going to be doing some of the work. Just move everything out here. Hopefully you guys can see okay. So I'm going to take a slice of my 3D gel that we just mixed. I've got water on my glove here, water on my fingertips. Next, we're going to take that 3D gel, we're going to start just gently rolling it into a thin little worm almost. We're going to put it on our glove, and we're going to start gently rolling it back and forth, again, like we're rolling out dough. This part, sometimes I go really crazy and it's flipped back and forth like that, and then it can actually like roll up and get stuck to each other. So just take your time doing this part. If you notice your glove is starting to get a little dry, just add a little bit more water and pull that 3D gel back down. We're going to use our fingers. My index finger I'm using, I find that works the best. Light pressure, you don't want to add too much pressure because that'll flatten it. And just work your way across the gel. We want to create as even thickness as possible across the whole kind of little string of 3D gel here. Then I'm going to take the dotting end tool in my blinger. We're just going to scoop underneath, kind of in the middle there, and pull it up slowly. Oops. So it meets in the middle. Can you guys see that okay? Okay, so now here comes the fun part. So when creating the twists, basically what we want is we want one to twist this way, so to the right, and one to twist to the left, because that way when they're put side by side, they'll be twisting away from each other and they'll create the braided look. If they're all going the same way, it'll just look like rope side by side by side, but by twisting them opposite, it'll create the braided look. You guys will see here in a second. So I'm going to add a little bit of water to my fingertips. We are going to take our little loopy of 3D gel here. Use very, very light pressure. We don't want to smush this. We just want to put enough pressure where we can just gently grab it and start twisting. So we're going to twist. Once I've got a little bit of a twist started down here, I'll move up and start twisting at the top and then kind of work my way down, just to try and make the twist as even as possible. So we've created our first twist there. I'm going to bring my little damp palette over here, gently pull this off, and just gently lay it down there. Now this, because it's damp, the 3D gel is not going to stick to the surface of it. So just make sure that this is quite damp. If it's dry, then unfortunately it probably will stick, but it's damp, so it's not going to go anywhere. So we're going to put that to the side. So that first twist here, we twisted to the right. The next one, we're going to twist to the left. So same steps as before. We're going to cut some of our 3D gel off here. Try and make them, if you can remember, try and make them around the same thickness pieces coming off. We're going to gently roll, and we're going to roll on our hand again. So we're going to repeat this step 4 times, well, twice for each direction. So that way we have 4 pieces all together, which makes 2 braids all together. I want to make the braids or the twists a little bit longer. That way we don't have to repeat this step twice and make 8 little rolls, because we need to make 2 sections of our bow, either side of our bow. Okay, so I'm just rolling this out here, being mindful that the finger that I'm rolling with does have water on it as well to keep everything from sticking. And of course, you guys, it's always important when you're working with product like this to wear gloves. We don't want to be touching this with our bare hands as least as possible. Okay, so I'm going to take my dotting tool end of my blinger again, kind of try and find the middle area, slowly pull up. Now, I always have to keep saying in my head, okay, turn the opposite way. So the first time we went to the right, this time I'm going to twist to the left. So I'm gently starting, gently starting at the bottom here, doing a twist. I'm going to work my way up near the top and start twisting up there, and just continue twisting down at the end here. And that way it makes a pretty darn uniform twist. Okay, now for the magic. You guys will see it come together now. So I'm going to lay this on my paper towel. And we are going to gently push this next to the other side. And there we go. There's 1 braid made. Okay. So just, if you're going to use your fingers again, make sure whenever you're manipulating it with your hands that you have a little bit of water on there, just to keep everything from sticking. And all I'm doing is just very, very gently pushing the 2 together. All right, so we've got 1/2 of our 2 bows here. And the ends are not a big deal because those are going to be hidden anyways when we fold everything over. So I'm not worried about the ends. This is looking really nice in there. It's pretty darn even. We're going to move on. We're going to repeat this step again. I'm just going to scroll through here and see if there's any comments that I can help with, if there's anything that anybody is missing. Can you pre-make these ahead of time? Yes, you can actually. And I was going to mention that. What you can do is you can take a tip. Let me just grab one here. So what you can do is you can take a tip and you can actually wrap a piece of tin foil over it, and you can use the tip to apply your bow to over the tin foil and then cure it, and then it'll just pop right off the tin foil, and that way you can have these ahead of time. And because you've done it on a tip, it's already going to have a curve to it, so that way it'll be easier to apply to your client's nails rather than having it cured flat and having a flat bottom on the bow. You can see this one because I applied it right to the nail. You can see right here it's it's curved to the surface of the nail. So it's going to sit a lot better on the client's nail if you do it that way. So yes, you can make them ahead of time. Just take a tip, wrap it in a thin layer of tin foil, and then work directly on there, and they should be able to pop right off. Twists are uneven. Honestly, I have to tell you, Katrina, this has taken me a while to be able to get them that consistent. But I think the main thing is to make your twists as even as possible, is trying to get the thickness of your roll as consistent as possible. Because if you make a twist too thin, or the rope too thin, then the twist is going to be really thin. We'll see if I can match this now. I'm not making any promises, but they'll be as close as possible. Okay, so into the next one. Again, we're going to wet our glove. We are going to slice some of our 3D gel off here. Wet my fingertip and my thumb. Take that off of our spatula end of our duck paddle. And we are going to start rolling. So just rolling that out. Consistent pressure all the way through. Now, if you wanted to, you could even make a bow just with one braid. It doesn't have to be the thickness of two. I just like the look of how chunky it is. It just looks so festive and so warm. And like I said, I'm up for big 3D things on my nails. I don't mind. Okay, same step as before. Come in underneath with that dotting tool, gently pull up. And I always like to start by turning to the right, so that's what I'm gonna do. Gently grab at the bottom here, start twisting, work my way up. Twist, twist, twist. Work all the way down. Here we go. So by adding the clear acrylic to our 3D powder, this is what's helping us keep that shape. If we didn't add any of the clear acrylic powder, the 3D gel would be quite soft, which is fine, but we want it stiffer for this design because I've done it where the gel has been soft, and as I'm twisting, it starts, the weight of the 3D gel at the end starts pulling the twist and it can break. So it's important to add that acrylic to your 3D gel. So we've got our first one here, and I have to remind myself we twisted to the right, so now I've got to twist to the left. So one last time here, we're going to wet our hand, grab some of our 3D gel, take that off, and roll, baby, roll. Whoops. See, I went a little crazy and I got it stuck there, but that's okay. I was able to save it. Worst comes to worst, if it folds over like that, you can just, if it folds over and gets stuck, you can just roll that end back out and it's fine. Okay. Keep rolling just a little bit more. All right, I think we're looking pretty good for this guy. So we are going to, one last time, pick it up with our dotting tool, gently pull up, wet our fingertips, and go to the left. So roll at the bottom, work our way up here a little bit, and then work our way down to the bottom. Using very light pressure, remember guys, because if you come in there hot with your fingers and you press too hard, you're going to smush your little design. Next, add it to our damp paper towel right beside the other, and we're going to smush those together. So making sure our fingertips are nice and wet, we're just going to come in and gently, ever so gently, introduce those two sides together. And we've got another braid. So if you were wanting to do this technique on a nail, all you would do is just keep creating these braids and lay them on the nail surface. But now I'm going to show you how to create a braid. Or sorry, I've got braids on my brain. I'm going to show you how to create a bow. So we are going to move this other bow over to our latest one here, and we are going to stick them together. Just very gently join those side by side. What is the clear liquid? This is, the clear liquid is actually water. And because this is going on top of the nail, it's not being encapsulated or anything like that, using water is okay. Okay, so now we've got both of our braids added together. And we are going to, I'm just going to clean the excess 3D gel off my brush here, just using a little bit of gel cleanse and a wipe. Just wipe that off because we're going to use this to slice these in half. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to eyeball halfway here, about there. We're going to slice those apart if I can. All right, so we've got two halves now. So now what I'm going to do, take our trusty little hands here, and we are going to ever so gently kind of point the end here. This end is already to a nice point. Thank you very much. But this one needs to be done on both sides. So we're just going to bring these to a point, and that's just going to help create the a better uniform overall look for the bow. That way it will help create the illusion that the bow has been puckered in the center by the knot. I'm going to move this one out of the way very gently and just pinch those together. Okay, so we've got 2 teardrop shaped little braids. Flatten that out a little bit if needed. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to bring back our nail tip. Where did I place that? Oh, right in front of me. Okay, so I haven't sealed this nail. We did this earlier together. We created those little pine tree branches, and the inhibition layer is still on this nail. I haven't sealed anything. I haven't wiped anything. I personally find applying 3D gel to a tacky surface is a lot easier. I tried it last night just on an unpolished tip, just a tip right out of the package, and it was sliding around and I actually ruined my bow. So working on a tacky surface I find is best. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my 3D brush, and I am going to, let me see here, I'm going to add a little bit of water. Looks like I got a little bit of 3D gel in there, so I'm just going to actually use my wipe and just wipe out any 3D gel that may be in there from when I was practicing. Alrighty. So, first things first, actually, I'm going to grab my silicone tool here, and we are going to create the first half of our bow. So what we're going to do, again, wetting my fingers because I am going to be working with the gel, I'm going to use my silicone tool and just put light pressure to hold that bottom down. I'm using my finger, and we're going to fold. You can see we're starting to fold that over. I'm going to flip it back over here. And we are going to fold that in half, but I'm leaving a little bit of space in there. Can you guys see that? So we've made kind of a teardrop shape. We've left a little hole in the center, and that has created the first half of our bow. All right, we're going to repeat the same step on the other side here. So getting everything a little bit of damp with water, including our silicone tool so it's not going to stick. We are going to hold that down with our silicone tool just ever so slightly in the middle. We're going to start bending that over. We're going to meet it with the other point of the bottom part. So we have got 2 halves here. One half may be slightly bigger. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to slice a little bit more off, and we are going to repoint that end. So no problem. I'm going to take my fingers, just gently manipulate that back into a point. Okay, so we've got both sides of our bow here. Just be careful they don't meet, because otherwise they're going to stick together and it's not going to be a fun time for anyone. Okay, now we are ready to place this on the nail. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to pick it up. I'm going to use my dotting tool here. Just going to grab it. Ooh. This is the finicky part, so just do it nice and slow. And decide where you want to add your bow. I did this one straight across. Maybe we'll try and do this one a little bit on an angle. So I'm going to place it on the nail here, and I'm just going to apply a little bit of pressure just to hold it in place. Oh, sorry. And kind of manipulate it into place. Try not to touch the surface of it too much because we don't want to flatten anything. Now you can see in this one, I've got a little bit of a pleat here and a little bit of a pleat here, and that is done by taking your silicone tool, a little bit of water, and you're going to just press in to the nail. Okay, now we're going to take our other side here, pick it up again with my dotting tool. Make sure it's not going to go anywhere. Make sure we've got the right side facing up. We're going to place that on the nail. Just gently push down. Oh, come on. So that it makes contact with the surface of the nail. You can kind of adjust it a little bit. It's a little bit lopsided, so I'm going to push that over. Just be very gentle. Push that down to meet the other side. Okay, then I'm going to take my silicone tool again, and I'm just going to press into the center there. I'm just going to push on the edge there. This side is open a little bit more. It's a little bit wider. That's all right. Okay, so now we've got those two pieces in place. We're going to go ahead and we're going to cure this. And that way we can work on the center part of our bow, the knot. So for the knot of the bow, the center part here, we're just going to create one little braid, which we should be pros at by now because we've done it over and over and over. So we're going to take 3D gel. We're going to roll it again, roll it out nice and thin. I'm not going to make this quite as thick as the other ones because it's going to be the center. You don't want it to overpower the sides of the bow. If you're sticking, just grab a little bit more water, roll that there, roll it out, roll it out, roll it out. Okay, grab my dotting tool underneath, and as always, I'm going to roll to the right. So start rolling, gentle, gentle pressure. Okay. So we've got half done, and I didn't make it quite as long as the other ones because we're going to chop off most of that anyways. We're going to create the second side, so we have a completed braid, and then we're going to put that in the middle. Again, add more water. Roll, roll, roll. Not gonna, ooh, geez Louise. See, that's what happens when your glove gets too dry, it sticks and then it goes flying. Okay, so, oh my gosh. Okay, I told you guys I was clumsy. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna pick this up, and I did the first half to the right, so I'm gonna do this half to the left. Join them together, roll from the bottom a little bit, and then work our way up to the top. Roll, roll, roll. Okay, join it with our other side now. It is a live one. It's jumping everywhere. Okay, so now we're going to put those side by side to create that cute little braid. I'm sorry guys, I haven't looked up very much, but I promise that I'm going to look back after and see if there's any comments. I know that I've got my Duck Squad family in the comment section really helping me out, and I appreciate that. All right, so we've got our braid made for the center now for our little knot. I'm going to take my little braid, or my little bow, out of the lamp, and we are going to cut this guy just like we did the others. Make sure you do that with a clean spatula, because otherwise if there's any existing 3D gel on there, it's just going to stick and you're going to end up with a mess. So we're going to cut one end off here. I'm going to work right from the middle, I think. I like this section. Cut a little bit more. Move those guys out of the way. I'm going to take my dotting tool or your 3D brush, whatever you have on hand. This part's a little bit finicky. Might actually use my 3D brush. Okay, pick that up. You know what, guys? Let's try the spatula. I told you this is finicky work, but it's worth it. It looks so cute in the end. Okay, spatula for the win. So we are going to place this right in the center of our bow where the two edges meet. Hypothetically. There we go. Now I'm going to take my silicone tool and I am going to, well, first I'm going to bend it down slightly with my fingertips, ever so slightly. Looking pretty wide, but that's okay because I'm going to take my silicone tool here and we're just going to see, you guys, this is trial and error, and I'm glad this is happening while I'm demoing for you, so you can see that it's not always easy sailing. Okay, so I'm using my 3D brush, and I'm just pressing that in underneath. You want to make sure your brush isn't too wet. And packing that underneath there. Same with this side, pressing it underneath. Trying to make it as centered as possible. And just push that in there. So everything's all joined together and you can't see the end of the braid. You just want to blend it with everything else. So we've got our knot there. Now we are going to stick that in the lamp. So one thing I'm noticing on this guy is that one side, my one that I just put in the lamp, one side is a little bit bigger. One side is a little bit bigger on this one too. It just takes some finessing and getting used to your sizing for your ropes and stuff. And like I said earlier, it may come out a little bit bigger on one side, and that's all right. You've still got this really cute 3D bow for your festive clients. So we're just gonna let this cure here. This is about a, I'm gonna cure this in our LED lamp for about a minute. And while that's going through, I'm gonna just look and see if there's any comments or questions that I can help answer. So my Instagram is my first and last name, so Natasha Harton, Harton. That's my Instagram name. You can make the 3D gel to make roses. It works beautifully for 3D roses. Now, like I said, this may not be for everyone, but I just wanted to show you guys the possibilities with our 3D gel. There's a lot that you can do, and I haven't really seen anybody do a knitted bow, so I was excited to show you guys. Could you not cut that first strand of the little twist in the center of the bow in half and turn it upside down so you have the full strand right away? You know what? I'm sure you could do that for sure. I think I just like to make the strands longer, and that way I have both of my sides done at the same time. That's what works for me, but if you guys find a way that works better for you, by all means, you go ahead and do that. How long will this take you, Natasha, if you're not doing the demo? That's a great question. Where are we now? We are, so this has taken me about almost an hour. Usually, if I'm doing it just kind of for fun, it usually takes me probably about 20 minutes or so. But adding the acrylic powder makes a big difference. So just making sure that you have the right consistency will help with your timing as well. But typically when I'm playing here, I think this bow probably took me realistically between 20 minutes to 35 minutes. And they are handy if you can make them ahead of time. Like I said, that trick with the tin foil over top of a nail tip, I think would work perfectly for that. So I haven't put the bow on top of top coat. What I'm gonna do now that it's cured is I'm going to actually top coat around the bow. So we're gonna take our no wipe, which I feel like doing for this nail. I mean, this nail would look really cute matte as well. But I'm gonna do no wipe. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna come up to the side of the bow, just very carefully go around, and this will also help keep the bow bonded to the nail. I mean, it's in place, it's really not going anywhere. Believe me, I tried. I was fiddling around when I was creating these for the demo, and I tried to take one off of a nail that I had applied gel polish to and then put the bow on top, and it was stuck. It wasn't going anywhere. So we're just taking our brush here. You could also take your detailer 2 brush if you don't want to get any of the top coat on the bottom of the bow. You could take your detailer 2 brush and just go around. We're just going to seal everything. Especially if you're doing this on a client, obviously around the sidewalls and stuff, you may need to get your little detailer, but because we are working on a tip and we have that luxury, we can just whip it all around at any angle. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put this in for another cure. We're going to cure this for 45 seconds. And then our 3D gel, it may have a little bit of a tacky layer just because I did mix it with the gel polish. So when it comes out, I'll just spray a little bit of gel cleanse on there and give it a little bit of wipe, and we should be good to go. So while that's curing, I'm gonna look back here. Yes, the bow is on cured gel polish, but before top coat. There will be, sometimes there will be a slight dispersion layer or inhibition layer with the 3D gel if you're adding gel polish to it. So like I said, I'll just take a little bit of gel cleanse, spritz the bow, and then cleanse it. Did you ever make a knitted bow? Yes, I did actually. And now I don't know where I've put that little nail, but oh, I have. Don't mind the background of it, I just haven't done anything with it, but you could definitely add little tails, and I added little tassels at the bottom. This is a bow just with one braid on either side, and then I just did really thin snakes of the 3D gel to act like a border around it. So you could do that also. Alrighty, so we've got this cured. So now I'm just going to take a little bit of gel cleanse on a wipe here. And we are just going to wipe over the bow. Let that evaporate. Let me just grab my tip display here. And we've got our little bows. So one thing I've noticed is that I didn't quite pinch these ones enough. As you can see here, I pinched these ones a little bit more at the point, and that's okay. This is all about learning and trials and tribulations. But our overall goal is to make it look like this one here. And again, you can do them in different sizes. I did a smaller one on this one, and I added some roping almost to make it look like a little wrap gift. So there's lots of possibilities with this one. I did a candy cane one. I tried a candy cane one and then did a little red center. So there's lots of neat things you can do with our 3D gel. And I hope you guys liked this tutorial. I guess my time is coming to an end here. Unfortunately, I had so much fun with you guys doing this today. If you guys have any questions, by all means, I'm always available on Instagram or by email. Feel free to reach out to us. We always like to help as much as we can. And I appreciate you guys spending the hour with me. And I hope you guys are looking forward to the rest of the weekend, because there are a lot of great educators and artists coming up. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate all of you, and I will see you soon. Thank you. Bye.